Okay. So non-refundable upfront fees. So this is the case of services mostly. Generally, when you apply for a service, the client or the entity from which you are getting the services, they might ask for a upfront fees. For example, a telecom connection. So if you want a Vodafone connection, so they might ask you have to pay this much activation charge, and then depending upon your usage, they will charge you the bill. Okay. So generally they will call it activation charge or some initial fees you need to pay, which are generally non-refundable. So they won't refund you. So basically it is part of the transaction cost only, which you have to pay to get the service. So services like telecom and maybe something like electricity or nowadays internet services are there, broadband services as we saw in one example. Even for bank uh, opening account, sometimes they might ask for opening fees or activation fees. So that is what we are talking about here in this case, non-refundable upfront fees. Upfront is something that you have to pay in the very beginning to get the service. Okay. And then as you use the service, depending upon usage, they will charge you for the services. Now the question is, as we are in part of as we are in performance obligation, the question is, should these be treated separately or are they part of the same performance obligation? Basically, if I am applying for a telecom service with the Vodafone or Airtel, so I want basic telecom services. So basically, I'm applying for a SIM card maybe so that I can use it to call, then for using data. So they tell me that this is the plan we'll give you, but as you are a new customer, you will have to pay activation charges, and then based on your services and your plan, will charge you the bill every month. Now the question is, should these non-refundable upfront fees be taken as a separate performance obligation or part of the same performance obligation, that is delivering telecom services? The logic is upfront fees as such are not a separate performance obligation because they are forming part of the same performance obligation, that is delivering the telecom services or any kind of services which are asking for upfront fees. So basically what this point says, that if an entity is asking for a upfront non-refundable fee, it is not a separate performance obligation. It is part of the same obligation, that is delivering the service. So do not recognize it separately. Recognize it with the other performance obligation, that is delivering the telecom service. So in this, what they have said, in some contracts, an entity charges the customer a non-refundable upfront fee. Few examples are joining fees in health club membership also, activation fees for telecom, setup fees in certain service contracts, initial fees or joining fees in some supply contracts with the distributors or customers. So basically some initial fees. Normally we come across is the activation fees for telecom services. That is the normally which we come across. So in this case, to identify the performance obligation in such contracts, so an entity shall assess whether the fee relates to an activity that the entity is required to undertake at the inception of the contract, or that activity does not result in transfer of promised goods or services to customers. So we have to see whether the fee relates to what. So they are saying whether the fee relates to an activity that entity is required to do at the start of the contract, or is that activity resulting into any transfer of promised goods or services? So taking of fee, is that leading to some transfer of service or something? That we have to see. In many cases, even though a non-refundable upfront fee relates to an activity that the entity is required to undertake at or near the contract inception to fulfill the contract, that activity does not result in transfer of a promised good or service to customer. Instead, the upfront fee is an advance payment for future goods and services, and therefore would be recognized as revenue when these services or goods are provided. So basically, normally what happens, they are saying that generally that upfront fee doesn't lead to any transfer or of goods or services. That upfront fee is just an advance for the future goods or services to be provided. So based on that upfront fee, in the future, the customer can avail the services because that service gets activated because of that. So he should recognize this upfront fee as revenue. The entity should recognize the upfront fee as revenue whenever they actually provide the service or goods for that month. Generally, for a telecom company, suppose in the first month, they have got a new customer who has now paid the activation fees. So they don't need to recognize the revenue then. Based on the activation, when they deliver the service to the customer, after that they can recognize the revenue once they fulfill the service, that is once they fulfill the performance obligation of giving the service. So along with that, they can recognize this revenue of activation because it is part of the same thing. It is not a separate performance obligation because it is not leading to transfer of goods at that time. Okay, it is just an advance fee after which the company will deliver a service. So it is part of the same obligation, and after that they can recognize the revenue depending upon the performance obligation. That is the same performance obligation in which the advance is part of. Let's see an example. Customer buys a new data connection from telecom entity. So he maybe takes some SIM card, or nowadays there is a data card that you get, router also is called. So customer buys a new data connection from a telecom entity. So let's call it a router. Nowadays you get a Geo router, Geo Wi-Fi router. 2000 rupees you get. So he applies for that. It pays one-time registration and activation fees of that router at the time of purchase of new connection. So he has to pay when he buys that router. He has to pay that activation charge. The customer will be charged based on the usage of data service of the connection on the monthly basis. And then after he pays that at the start of the month, he will be billed at the end of the month depending upon his usage. Are the performance obligation under contract distinct? No, they are not distinct. They are part of the same performance obligation. So the upfront fee, that is the registration activation fee that is taken at a time of connection, should be recognized along with the bill for that month. It should not be charged separately. So they will recognize revenue only when they deliver the data services on that month. So by selling a new connection, the entity promises to supply data services to customer. Customer will not be able to benefit from just buying a data card and data services from third party. So by just buying a data card, you cannot benefit unless you activate the data card. Okay. The activity of registering and activating connection is not a service to customer and therefore does not represent satisfaction of performance obligation. Neither just registering or activating is a separate service. It is just an advance against which the actual service will come. Entity's obligation is to provide data service, and hence activation is not a separate performance obligation. So it is not a separate performance obligation. So that is what they are saying about upfront fees. So they are not to be recognized separately. They will be recognized along with the performance obligation of providing the service. Now, third step, first step was identify the contract. Second was identifying the performance obligation, and now third, determining the transaction price. This is a very important point, determining the transaction price. Now see, measurement. When or as a performance obligation is satisfied, an entity shall recognize as revenue the amount of transaction price, which excludes estimates of variable consideration that are constrained in accordance with para 5658, that is allocated to that performance obligation. Now, the rule is, as you satisfy the performance obligation, you can recognize revenue depending upon whatever transaction price you have decided along with the entity, along with the client. Sometimes there is a element of variable consideration in the transaction price. There is some variable consideration that you recognize only when you know that you're gonna get that, and no reversal is gonna happen in the future. So something like incentive pay. So if you provide the goods on time, the client might reward you some bonus. So only if you know that you are going to deliver in time, then recognize the bonus. Otherwise, don't. So we'll see a few examples about that. The next examples are about variable consideration only. But the logic is, as you perform the performance obligation, as the performance obligation is satisfied, you can recognize the transaction price. That's the rule. But the variable component of the transaction price, which is based on some conditions to be satisfied by the entity, maybe meeting the quality requirement of the client or meeting the time requirement of the client in delivering the goods or services. Only if you know for sure that you are going to get that variable consideration, then record. Otherwise, don't. Or otherwise, record only part of it which you are sure you'll get. We'll see about that. So after identifying the contract in step 1 and performance obligation in step 2 that we did in the last lectures, an entity next applies step 3 to determine the transaction price of the contract. That is the price at which the contract is entered. The objective of step 3 is to predict the total amount of consideration to which the entity will be entitled from the contract. So obviously, so we should understand what is the amount that they are going to get. What is the transaction price? The transaction price is the amount of consideration to which an entity expects to be entitled in exchange for transferring the promised goods or services to customer, excluding amounts collected on behalf of third parties. As you know, we have to charge GST. So whenever you provide service or goods, you will be adding GST in the bill. So obviously the client will pay that also. So, but you are collecting GST on behalf of the government. So that is not part of the transaction price. For us, transaction price is excluding the GST. That is why they have said excluding amounts collected on behalf of third parties. Third parties are mostly the government because you'll be collecting taxes on behalf of the government. So you cannot recognize that as revenue. That is not your revenue. Now, this is a very important part. The consideration promised in a contract with a customer may include fixed amounts, variable amounts, or both. Now, the consideration, that is the, you can say, whatever the entity is going to get in return from the client can be consisting of fixed amounts and variable amounts or both. So either it can be completely fixed or completely variable, or can be a consideration of fixed or a combination of fixed and variable, both. Like we saw in directors, fixed pay, incentive pay, like that. So if you deliver the service on time or deliver the goods on time, and if they are meeting the right quality, the client might give you additional incentives. So the consideration promised in a contract with a customer may include fixed, variable components or both. Further, an entity shall consider the terms of the contract and its customary business practices to determine the transaction price. Normally, how the entity records the variable component? Fixed, so definitely they will record. But how does the entity record the business practices? Generally, for example, a scheme like sale on return basis. So sometimes the company has a policy that they give a 30 days period for the customer to return the goods if they don't like it. So normally, how does the company record in this case? what is the rate of returns, how many customers return the goods actually. So based on history, based on the customary practices of the of the entity, they will have their own policy. See, like 10% of the customers generally return. So they will record only 90% of the revenue. So whenever they enter into contract, they will for the whole year or something like that, or they will record only 90%. So further, an entity shall consider the terms of the contract, its customary business practice to determine the transaction price. So for example, they sell to 10 customers in a month, and normally 10% of the customers return. So they will record only the 9 transactions instead of 10 transactions. So they will record only 90% of the transaction because 10% normally return. For the purpose of determining the transaction price, an entity shall assume that the goods or services will be transferred to customer as promised in accordance with the existing contract, and the contract will not be cancelled, renewed, and modified. For determining transaction price, you have to assume that a contract will be carried out. The nature, timing, and amount of consideration promised by customer affect the estimate of transaction price. The nature, timing, and amount of consideration promised by customer affect the estimate of transaction price. So there are a lot of things that go in determining a transaction price, especially when the consideration is variable. So that can affect the transaction price estimation. Plus, the contract might have something of a totally variable consideration also. That the whole transaction price is only variable. So depends on if the client fulfills, the entity fulfills some conditions for the client, then only he will pay that much. For example, there was an example that the whole contract is for 25 lakhs. You'll see the example later. The contract is for 25 lakhs, and the entity has to provide the goods on a specified date. For example, they have to provide the goods on 31st March. 25 lakhs contract, on 31st March, they have to provide the goods. They have to deliver the goods. If they delay by 1 day, for each day, the consideration will reduce by 1 lakh. For every delay of 1 day, the client will pay you less 1 lakh. So for example, if they delay 5 days, then 5 lakhs will be reduced from the consideration. You will get only 20 lakhs. If you deliver the goods prior to 31st March, for every day before 31st March you deliver, so suppose you deliver 3 days before, the client will pay you 3 lakhs more. So now you have to estimate what is the probability of you delivering on time, or what is the probability of you delivering 5 days before the contract date. So accordingly you recognize. So again, the nature, timing, and amount promised by the customer affect the estimate of transaction. So we have to estimate sometimes. Sometimes the whole consideration has to be estimated depending upon when you will be providing the service and would you be meeting the quality also as required. We'll see about that. So when determining the transaction price, an entity should consider the effects of the following. So we'll be seeing examples in each of this. Transaction price can be in the form of a variable consideration, or it might include a component which is variable. Constraining the estimates of variable consideration. So we have to calculate the estimate. Sometimes the consideration can include a non-cash consideration also, which is not paid in cash. Consideration payable to customer. So we have to pay the customer, sometimes as a penalty also. Significant financial component, financing component, something like an interest. So let's see each of them. We'll start with variable consideration. Now, variable consideration, no name only you understand, it's varying. It depends on fulfillment of some conditions or terms. If the consideration promised in a contract includes a variable amount, an entity shall estimate the amount of consideration to which the entity will be entitled in exchange for transferring the promised goods or services to the customer. So In this case, when the consideration is variable, the entity will have to estimate how much they will get on their performance of the service or the goods. Obviously, on the performance, they will record it. But even after performance, they have to estimate this is the amount that the client will now pay. Example, an amount of consideration can vary because of discounts, rebates, refunds, credits, price concessions, incentives, performance bonus, and similar items. Lot can go inside a consideration. The promised consideration can also vary if an entity's entitlement to consideration is contingent on the occurrence or non-occurrence of future events. So sometimes the consideration can be contingent also, depending on certain event. For example, an amount of consideration would be variable if either a product was sold with a right to return, that is 30-day return policy and all, or a fixed amount is promised as a performance bonus on achievement of specified milestone. Sometimes the client will tell, if you deliver 5 days before, I'll give you bonus. Or if the product is meeting the quality I want, I'll give you additional bonus. So that can also be part of that. So that is a contingent consideration. So it is depending upon you achieving a milestone, or it can be a customer returning the goods or not returning the goods. Depending upon that, you will record the transaction. Variable consideration may be fixed in amount, but so they can fix the amount. Like I told you, for delay of 1 day, 1 lakh is deducted, or for delivering the good 1 day prior to the contract date, you will get 1 lakh more. So it can be a fixed amount. Consideration is variable, but it is fixed. This much you will get. Or bonus also. They will say if the goods you deliver are meeting the standard, we will give you 5 lakhs extra. So if it is not meeting, you will not get. Simple. So on delivering the goods, the entity has to estimate, have we met the obligation or not? Have we met the quality? If yes, then record the bonus in your books. Otherwise, don't record. Simple. Variable consideration may be fixed in amount, but the entity's right to receive that consideration is contingent on future outcome. Example, the amount of performance bonus might be fixed, but because the entity is not entitled to that bonus until performance target is met, the outcome is uncertain and therefore the amount is considered variable. So even if they say you will get 5 lakhs on meeting that quality standard, but we don't know whether we will achieve that or not. So only on fulfilling the target and fulfilling that standard or that quality standard, then you can know whether to record it or not. That is why it is a variable. Even if the amount is known, but still it is variable depending upon whether you meet the standard quality or not. So let's see a few examples of that. There are two methods basically of estimating the amount of variable consideration. So there are two methods. So by which you can estimate what is the variable consideration in the contract. One is expected value method, generally using probability. Probability, what is the chance of getting this outcome? What is the chance of getting that outcome? Taking probability values, you can calculate the expected value. This is the value of the contract. And in cases where something like a performance bonus, something like where they have said if you meet the quality, we'll give you 5 lakhs more, otherwise no. So that time there are only two options, either 5 lakh or 0. So you decide on the performance obligation. After you fulfill the performance obligation, you decide, do you think you have met the quality? If yes, record 5 lakhs. If not, don't record anything. So in most likely amount, there are generally two options, either amount or a 0. Where you meet the standard, you get the bonus, otherwise no. Simple. Expected is basically something like an incentive pay. Incentive basically is, for example, I told you, for each 1 day delay, 1 lakh will be deducted. For each 1 day before the contract, will you get 1 lakh more. So in that case, you have to estimate the probability of you delivering goods on time. That time you can take expected value. But when there are only two options, 0 or this number, then you take most likely amount. In a contract, you can have to use both the methods also. For certain part of the contract, you can use expected. Certain part of the contract, you can use most likely. We'll see that. So this is a nice example. So now from 19th to 24th, superb examples they have given. They are practical, properly practical examples also. Some examples you need to solve actually. So they are interesting also. So please pay attention. Now variable consideration. XYZ Limited enters into contract with a customer to build a sophisticated machinery. So some machinery for the client. The promise to transfer the asset is the performance obligation that is satisfied over time. The performance obligation is the transfer of asset, that the machinery. The promised consideration is 2.5 crores. So 2.5 crores is the consideration. But that amount will be reduced or increased depending on the timing of completion of the asset. An amount can increase or decrease depending upon when the asset is completed and delivered. Specifically, for each day after 31st March 2001, that the asset is incomplete, the promised consideration is reduced by 1 lakh. For each day of delay, 1 lakh will be deducted from the 2.5 crore. For each day before 31st March, that the asset is complete. So if you complete the asset and deliver before 31st March, the number of days before that, the consideration will increase by 1 lakh for each day before 31st. So this is clearly kind of an incentive thing, that as well as it is a variable consideration that you are getting. If you delay, you will lose 1 lakh for each day. If you deliver early, you will get 1 lakh for each day you deliver early. So suppose you deliver 5 days before, you will get 5 lakhs more. So it will be 2.5 crores plus 5 lakhs. So this is one part. So generally in this case, this first para, we will be using the estimated value method. We'll estimate using probability. Now in this, they have not given us the probability value. Sometimes they will give you, this is the chance, 20% chance that they will deliver before, 20% chance that they will deliver 2 days after, 30% chance that they will deliver 3 days before, something like that. Okay, so to calculate accordingly. So for example, if they are given us the probability values, that chances, there is a 20% chance that he will deliver 2 days before. There is a 30% chance that he will deliver 1 day before. There is a 20% chance that he will deliver 1 day after. There is a 30% chance that he will deliver 2 days after. So accordingly, you take the amount of the consideration you receive. For example, if you receive 1 day after, then you will get 2.4 crore. Okay, 2.4 crore, no, 2.5 crore is basically 2 crore 50 lakhs. Okay, so you will get 2 crore 49 lakhs. Okay, because 1 lakh less. So take the amount and multiply by the percentage of probability and then add up everything. We'll see how that is done. So basically, that's just like we calculate probability. So for example, there is 20% chance of receiving 2 crore 49 lakhs. 2.2 crore 49 lakhs into 20%. Take that amount. Then there is 30% chance of receiving 2 crore 47 lakhs. Multiply by 30%, take the amount. There is 20% chance of receiving 2 crore 52 lakhs. So multiply and get the amount. Then add everything. So that is the estimated amount. Like we calculate probability. Okay. So take the amounts that you are going to receive, chances of that, multiply, add up. That is the estimated amount. That is how we calculate probability. Second part, they are saying, in addition, upon completion of the asset, so I'll just show you the probability. There is, in this sum they have not given, the next sum they have given. I'll just show you. So for example, just assume the amount. If there is 15%, sorry, there is a, just ignore the left side because this is bonus part, this is different sum. But just, I want to show you how probability is calculated, estimated amount. So there is a chance of 25% of receiving 3.75 as a consideration. Just multiply by 25%, you will get the probability weighted amount. There is a 40% chance that you will get 40%. Just multiply, you will get 1. 1.25 chances 15%, multiply. There is a 20% chance that you will not get anything, 0. So 0. Just add. This is the amount. That is how we normally calculate probability. It's a different sum. We'll be doing that again. But I just wanted to show how to calculate probability. So in this case also, maybe in first case we'll take 2.49 crores, 2.47 crores, 2.52 crores, 2.53 crores, and then multiply by the percentage probability. Add up. That is the estimated amount. Okay. Here they are not given us the values. If they give, then we have to do that table. Okay, that is first part. Then second part, in addition, so so there is this part is there. This is the first part of the contract. Secondly, in the consideration also, again, they have said that in addition, upon completion of the asset, the third party will inspect the asset and assign a rating based on metrics that are defined in the contract. If the asset receives a specified rating, the entity will be entitled to an incentive bonus of 15 lakhs. Now, on completion of the asset, they have entered into contract. So while entering the contract with the customer, they have decided that once we complete the asset, so that 22.5 crore wala part there is there. That is based on time, before, after. Plus, we have entered a condition in the contract that on completion, we will call a third party to inspect the machine and he will give a rating. So if he receives maybe a rating above 3 stars or like 4 stars, the client will pay additional 15 lakh as incentive bonus because we have met that standard. So in this case, if we meet the quality and we get the desired rating, obviously on meeting the quality, the client will pay us 15 lakh. Otherwise, he won't pay us anything. Simple. So 15 lakh or zero. So in this case, we'll use the most likely method. So while making the contract and while on completion of the asset, you can understand na, ki, as you have made the asset, you know ki whether you have met the quality standard or not. If you think you have, recognize 15 lakhs. Otherwise, recognize zero. Okay. The first para will be using the estimated value method, and second para will be using the most likely value method. In this, they have not given us the probability value, so that is why we are just writing the answer. We will be using estimated value, and second case most likely method. But in next sum, they have given us the values. We'll be calculating. In determining the transaction price, the entity prepares a separate estimate for each element of the variable consideration. So there are two elements of variable consideration in the contract, to which the entity will be entitled using the estimated methods described in para of AS 115. Case A, the entity decides to use the expected value method to estimate the variable consideration associated with daily penalty or incentive. Penalty is when we delay, incentive is when we deliver prior to the contract date. That is 2.5 crore plus minus 1 lakh per day. This is because it is the method that the entity expects to better predict the amount of consideration to which it will be entitled. So based on probability, you can get the answer easily. Secondly, the entity decides to use the most likely amount to estimate the variable consideration associated with the incentive bonus. This is because there are only two possible outcomes, either 15 lakhs or nil. So there is no middle amount. And it is the method that the entity expects to better predict the amount of consideration to which it is entitled. So in first case, you can use the expected value method. In second case, you can use the most likely method. Now, another sum, but here we have to do calculations based on probability and all that. AST Limited enters into contract with a customer to build a manufacturing facility. They are making a manufacturing facility like a factory or a huge plant. The entity determines that the contract contains one performance obligation satisfied over time. That is, there is only one performance obligation, that is the building of the manufacturing facility. The construction is scheduled to be completed by the end of 36th month, that is 3 years, for an agreed upon price of 25 crores. The 3-year contract and the price is 25 crores. Now, the variable part. The entity has the opportunity to earn performance bonus for early completion as follows. So if they complete early, they'll get a bonus. 15% bonus of the contract price if completed by 30th month, that is 36th month is the final date. So if they complete by 30th month, 25% chances are there. So 15% of this amount they will get if they complete by 30th month. Chances are 25%. Probability is 25%. 10% bonus of the contract amount, that is 2.5 crore they will get if completed by 32nd month, 40% chance. 5% bonus if completed by 34th month, 15% chance. So this is the bonus that they are giving. So 25 crores, so anyways they will get for the contract, plus they will get bonus if they deliver early. And there are probabilities also given, which will be calculating the estimated amount. Plus they are saying in addition to this, addition to the potential performance bonus for early completion, AST Limited is entitled to a quality bonus also of 2 crore if the health and safety inspector, that is the third party, assigns the facility, that is the manufacturing facility, a gold star rating as defined by the agency in the terms of the contract. So if the inspector comes and gives a gold star rating, then he will give additional 2 crores. AST Limited concludes that it is 60% likely that it will receive the quality bonus. Now, in this case, now you don't take probability. The second part, there is no, you can say, use of taking probability because there are only two options. Either you get 2 crore or no. Simple. So using probability won't give a right picture. So you just estimate on completion of the facility to understand na, ki, would you be getting the gold star rating? Yes, then add 2 lakh, 2 crores to your consideration. Otherwise, zero. Simple. There is no middle amount. You will not be getting like 2 crore into 60%. So only 1.2 crore you can record. That is not the right way to do it. So either 2 crore or zero. So again, in this case, so this is the fixed part. Okay, this is the fixed part that has to be there. So on performance of the contract, performance obligation, you can record that 25 crore. Performance bonus, you have to estimate. This part you have to estimate based on expected value method. And this part will be on the most likely value method. Now let's see. First, we'll do the performance bonus, where we'll be taking, first of all, calculating the bonus amount. So 15% if we complete before 30th month, 30 months, 15% of 2.5 crores, sorry, 25 crores, 25 crores is the amount. So 15% of 25 crores is 3.75 crore. 10% of 25 crore is 2.5 crore, and 5% is 1.25. And the balance probability, if you add up 25, 40, 65, and 15, that is 80. So that is why they have taken the balance probability 0. There is no bonus for that. So multiply by the probability percentage as the most likely outcomes. You get this amount. Add up, that is the expected value you can record on performance obligation being completed. So they have said, in determining the transaction price, AST Limited separately estimates variable consideration for each element of variability, that is early completion bonus, that is this part, and quality bonus. AST Limited decides to use the expected value method to estimate a variable consideration associated with early completion bonus. Because there is a range of possible outcomes, an entity has experience with large number of similar contracts that provide a reasonable basis to predict future outcomes. So they have the probabilities calculated. Therefore, the entity expects this method to best predict the amount of variable consideration associated with early completion bonus. AST's best estimate of early completion bonus is 2.13 crore. That is, they are rounded this off 2.125. Calculated as below. So this is how they calculate. For the remaining quality bonus, that is 2 crore, depends on how the entity expects to meet the quality standard or not. AST Limited decides to use the most likely outcome to estimate the variable consideration associated with the potential quality bonus, because there are only two outcomes, either 2 crore or nil. And this method would best predict the amount of consideration associated with the quality bonus. AST Limited believes the most likely outcome of the quality bonus is 2 crore. So they believe that they will get 2 crores. So on delivering or completion of the manufacturing facility, they can record 2 crore also, and they can record 2.13 crore also. So total they will record 25 crore they will record anyways. Plus they will record 2.13 and 2. So 4.13 crore they will record additionally on performance of the obligation. That is the amount I expect from the client. Any doubt till here?
No, sir.
Okay. Okay. Now, okay. Constraining estimates of variable consideration. Now, this is a very important part. A very important part. Constraining estimates of variable consideration. This is the second part. As we had seen a chart above. There's a chart which we had read, and then we started with this part. So we are going by that chart only. First, we saw transaction price. In that, we are seeing first we saw variable consideration. Now, the second is constraining the estimates of variable consideration. Okay, so in that we are right now. So what exactly they mean by that? Let's see. Now pay attention. Huh? So next, almost 3-4 sums are based on this. As per para 56 of Ind AS 115, an entity shall include in the transaction price some or all of an amount of variable consideration estimated in accordance with para 53, only to the extent that it is highly probable that a significant reversal in the amount of cumulative recognized revenue will not occur when the uncertainty associated with the variable consideration is subsequently resolved. Now, the logic is, in case of variable consideration, only when there is high probability of receiving the consideration, you record. If there is a very low probability, don't record. So if you record and there are chances of you reversing that later because you didn't get that consideration, then there is no point in recording. So while recording, so for example, if you are providing a service, if your entity is providing some service and there is a variable consideration in the contract, and you expect that even if you record the consideration, maybe in the future you will have to reverse that because you will not be getting the consideration, because you will not be fulfilling the conditions. Then don't record. Only when you are sure that you will be getting the consideration on the performance of the performance obligation, then only record. If you know that you won't be getting the amount, there are chances that even if you record, you will have to reverse the amount, then don't record. Simple. Only when there is a high chance of you getting the variable consideration, then only record. Otherwise, don't record. And obviously, subject to you delivering the service or the goods. So let's see the example. Then we'll understand. At the same time, there is a point called reassessment of variable consideration. At each reporting period, at the end of each reporting period, so it can be quarterly, 6 monthly, or annually, whatever is the reporting period given in the question. An entity shall update the estimated transaction price, including updating its assessment of whether an estimate of variable consideration is constrained to represent faithfully the circumstances present at the end of the reporting period and the changes in the circumstances during the reporting period, The entity shall account for changes in transaction price in accordance with the paras of Ind AS 115. Now, what they are saying, we'll have to see the example for that. Okay. Now, let's see. It's a big example. So, we'll read it easily. Slowly, we'll go and understand. The question is big, answer is small. The answer. Okay. So, very easy sum actually. But it looks as if it is very difficult because the size of the sum. Okay, now pay attention. Sometimes there is a case of volume discount incentive. Volume discount. For example, entity, that is the reporting entity, enters into contract with a client saying that so the contract is for the whole year. The contract says that if you order more than 1,000 quantity of goods from us during the year, we will give you discount of 10% on the whole. But if you don't order more than 1,000 from us, then we'll charge normal price. So that is where the volume discount comes, where the company says that if you order more than this quantity during the whole year, we will give you discount. But generally, what is the problem is that at the start of the year, we don't know whether the customer will be ordering more than 1,000. Neither he knows. Based on his requirement, he will order. If that crosses that quantity limit, then we have to give him discount. So let's see. In this case, what is happening? HT Limited enters into contract with a customer on 1st April 2001. HT Limited is the entity, reporting entity. It enters into contract with a customer on 1st April 2001 to sell product X for rupees 1,000 per unit. So they are entering into contract to sell product X for rupees 1,000 per unit. That is the price. The contract says if the customer purchases more than 100 units of product X, actually it should be X, product X in a financial year, the contract specifies the price per unit is retrospectively reduced to 900 per unit. Consequently, the consideration is the contract is variable. Now they say that normal price is 1,000, but if you purchase during the year more than 100 units from us, we will reduce the price to 900. So even it might happen that in the beginning you might purchase like 300 units, in this case 100 units. So if you purchase like 20 units from us in the beginning, we will charge you 1,000 for that. But as soon as your order crosses 100 in the year, the number of units purchased was 100, we will adjust the cost retrospectively also. For the earlier units also, will reduce the price to 900. Because when does the discount kick in? Only when the customer orders purchases more than 100 units. So in the beginning, they will charge 1,000 only. So till he reaches 100, they will charge 1,000 only. As soon as his order or purchase goes above 100, they will reduce the price retrospectively. So they will kind of refund or adjust 100 rupees per unit retrospectively for all the amounts he has paid earlier. For the first quarter ended 30th June 2001, the entity sells 10 units of product. So let's assume product A because they have used product A. In the first line, they have said X. So that is why we'll take A only because here they are saying X. Then again, for next line, they are saying A. So let's call it A only. You also make changes in the textbook. For the first quarter ended 30th June 2001, the entity sells 10 units of product A to customers. So for the first quarter, April, May, June, they delivered 10 units. So obviously they charged 1,000. So they got 10,000 rupees in return of that. So as soon as they delivered, they will record 10,000 rupees. So they don't know how much the customer will order. He might order 50 only. But if he orders more than 100, then we'll have to adjust the earlier prices he has paid also. The entity estimates that the customer will not exceed 100 units. So at the beginning of the first quarter, start of the quarter, they are not expecting him to exceed 100. So they are like 1,000 rupees he charge karenge. So entity estimates that the customer purchases will not exceed 100 units threshold required for the volume discount in the financial year. So we don't have to give him volume discount. Simple. HT Limited determines that it has a significant experience with this product and with the purchasing pattern of the customer. We know the customer that he never exceeds 100. So there is no point only. But we have just given him the offer. Thus, HT Limited concludes that it is highly probable that a significant reversal in the cumulative amount of revenue recognized will not occur when the uncertainty is resolved. That is when the total amount of purchase is known. So as we know, the variable consideration will only record when there is high probability that we are going to get this amount and there is no reversal going to happen later. So they are like, yes, we know his pattern. He never exceeds 100. So we'll record at 1000. So we record that after delivery of 10 units, we'll immediately record 10,000 rupees as revenue. We don't have to record at 900 because he's not going to anyways exceed. Further, actually this month should have been different. I'll call it July. I'll call it July 2001. Okay, because already we are reaching June. Okay, so let's call it July. Further, in July 2001, the customer acquires another company, and in the second quarter ended 30th September, the entity sells additional 50 units of product A to customer. So in July, after the quarter, the customer it acquired another company. So as it has grown now, it ordered additional 50 units of product A from the entity. So now total units that are sold by the entity are 60. Earlier 10 for the first quarter. For the second quarter, July, August, September quarter, 50. So already they have reached 60. Now the entity, HT Limited, has to re-estimate. Will the customer be exceeding 100 units in a year? Chances are there because still 2 quarters are left. In the light of the new fact, the entity estimates that a customer purchases will exceed 100 units threshold for the financial year. So as we discussed, at each reporting period, this was the line. Reassessment of variable consideration. At end of each reporting period, an entity shall update the estimated transaction price. That is what we are doing. At the end of the first quarter, the company estimated that they won't be exceeding. But at end of the second quarter, they are now estimating that they will exceed. So chances of we giving them a discount of 100 rupees per unit is more. So in the light of the new fact, the entity estimates that the customer's purchases will exceed 100 units threshold for the financial year, and therefore it will be required to retrospectively reduce the price per unit to 900. Now retrospective will only apply to this 10 units because that is the only units they have sold before the quarter. For this quarter, starting this quarter, they can charge 900 only because anyways they know ki 100 units are gonna be exceeded. So for 50 they will charge 900, and for 10 only they will take 900 only. So 10 into 100, 1000, they will reverse. Or what they can do, they will recognize or adjust against this purchase. Determine the amount of revenue to be recognized by HT Limited for the quarter ended 30th June and 30th September. As I told you, the answer is very small. First quarter, entity recognizes 10,000, that is 10 into 1000, because that time their estimation was that the entity, that the client won't be exceeding 100 units. So they recorded 10,000. Perfectly fine. Because that time the estimation for that reporting period, they had estimated that. Now in the second quarter, HT Limited will recognize revenue of 44,000. Now how does this amount come? That amount is calculated from 45,000, that is 50 into 900. So for this current batch, 50, you charge 900 only. Because you know, na, at this reporting period, you know, and you have delivered the goods also. So you have completed the performance obligation of delivery. And you know that the entity, the client will be exceeding the 100 units. So charge 900 only. So that adds to 45,000. Less the earlier extra 1,000 you had charged. Because now as the customer will be exceeding 100 units, you have to actually give him 900 rupees per unit. But you had charged originally 1,000. So reverse, you had charged total 10,000. So you had charged 1,000 here. It should have been 900. So you had charged extra 100. 100 into 10 is 1000. So reverse that 1000. So now recognize only 44,000. That is 45,000 current sale minus the first quarter sale of 1000. Less the change in transaction price of 1000 on 10 units into 100 price reduction for the reduction of revenue relating to units sold for the first quarter. So as you have recognized 10,000 in the first quarter, now recognize only 44. So that adjusts automatically. So it is as if you recorded 9,000 here and 45,000 here. It's the same. So basically it adds up to 54,000 till second quarter. So normally also if you are charging 900, it would be 9,000 and then 45,000. Again it will be 54. So as you have already taken 10,000 here, 1,000 extra, take 44 only. Have you understood this? Has everyone understood this? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's see a similar example. Measurement of variable consideration. An entity has a fixed fee contract of 1 million, that is 10 lakhs. 1 million is 10 lakhs. So an entity has a fixed fee contract for 10 lakhs to develop a product that meets specified performance criteria. So if the product meets the performance criteria, they will get 10 lakhs. Estimated cost to complete the contract is 9 lakh 50. So cost of that contract is 9 lakh 50 for the entity. So they will be making a profit of 50,000 on that. 9 lakh 50 is the cost, 10 lakh is the contract price. So they'll be making a profit of 50,000. Entity will transfer control of the product over 5 years. So it's a 5-year contract. And the entity uses cost to cost input method to measure progress on a contract. So they use something like a cost to cost method. So as soon as they incur cost, for example, first year they incur so much cost. So in proportion, they will recognize the revenue. Generally, it is called a proportionate contract method. So in Inter, there was a topic called as contract costing. In that, the contract revenue was recognized based on proportionate completion method. So depending upon how much cost you incur yearly, you recognize the revenue in that proportion. Okay. An incentive award is available if the product meets the following weight criteria. So fixed consideration though is there. This 10 million to fixed is there. Plus there is an incentive award which is available if the product meets the following weight criteria. Weight is 951 or greater kg, award 0%. If the weight of the product is between 701 to 950 kg, 10% of the fixed fee. So 10 lakhs, so 10%. 1 lakh you will get extra. Incentive be 1 lakh. If the weight is 700 or less, you will get more incentive, 25%, that is 2,50,000. So 10 lakhs तर मिळणारच आहेत प्लस तुम्हाला इन्सेंटिव्ह मिळेल जर तुमचं वेट ऑफ द प्रॉडक्ट इज विदिन द लिमिट. 950 kg वर असेल तर काहीच मिळणार नाही. 950 kg खाली असेल तर तुम्हाला इन्सेंटिव्ह मिळायचा चान्स आहे. नाउ the entity has extensive experience creating products that meet the specific performance criteria. Normally entity meets the criteria. So they will be either meeting 1 lakh criteria or 2 lakh 50. So they will meet some criteria. Based on its experience, the entity has identified 5 engineering alternatives that will achieve 10% incentive and 2 that will achieve 25% incentive. In this case, the entity determined that it has 95% confidence that it will achieve 10% incentive and 20% confidence that it will achieve 25% incentive. That is what they are estimating. That firstly, they have 5 methods of making that product that will achieve 10% incentive, and two methods of achieving that product, which will achieve 25% incentive. So now they have to choose which method to go for. Secondly, they are saying ki 95% confidence they have ki they will achieve 1 lakh wala incentive anyways, and 20% they have confidence that they will achieve 25% wala incentive. So chances of getting that 10% incentive are more. Based on this analysis, the entity believes 10% to be the most likely outcome when estimating transaction price. So they say that 10% is the definitely high chance because 95% we are predicting. So that is highly probable, that incentive. So we'll record that. Therefore, the entity includes only 10% award in the transaction price when calculating revenue, because the entity has concluded it is probable that significant reversal in the amount of cumulative revenue recognized will not occur when uncertainty associated with variable consideration is subsequently resolved due to its 95% confidence in achieving 10% reward. Logical, they are saying that while calculating, as we are recording the revenue yearly based on the cost of completion, we'll record the variable consideration also. But while recording the variable part, that is the incentive, we will take 10% incentive because there are high chances that we'll be meeting that, and there are very low chances that we'll reverse that, because 10% to anyways will achieve. So there is a high probability that we'll be getting 10% incentive to minimum milega hi, because 95% chances there, and there is a very low probability that we will be reversing that incentive. Okay, so incentive also will be recording proportionately over the years. But if we record 25% incentive, that is 2,50,000 incentive proportionately, there are high chances that we have to reverse it tomorrow. So we'll go with 10% only, which is highly probable. Now, the entity reassesses its production status quarterly, determine whether it is on track to meet the criteria for the incentive award. Actually, it should be yearly. Here it should be yearly, not quarterly. At the end of year 4, it becomes apparent that this contract will fully achieve the weight-based criterion. Now, for the first 3 years, as from the beginning, we'll be estimating that incentive will be 10%. But at the end of fourth year, it understands we'll be getting full incentive, that is 25%. So accordingly, you have to revise. At the end of year 4, it becomes apparent that this contract will fully achieve the weight-based criterion. Fully achieve means you will get the maximum incentive. Therefore, the entity revises its estimate of variable consideration to include the entire 25% incentive fee in the year 4, because at this point, it is probable that significant reversal in the amount of cumulative revenue recognized will not occur. So there will be no reversal. We are 100% sure that 25% revenue will be recognized extra incentive when including the entire variable consideration in the transaction price. Now, evaluate the impact of changes in variable consideration where cost incurred is as follows. So these are the costs incurred in the 5 years. Accordingly, we have to recognize the 10 lakh wala revenue, that is the fixed component, and the variable component also. For the first 3 years, we are recognizing variable as 1 lakh only, 10%. From the fourth year, we are recognizing 2,50,000. We'll change the variable proportion. If you add this, it will add up to 9,50,000. That is the original cost of the contract.
Sir, तो लास्ट पैरा नहीं समझला टेबलच्या वरचा.
Okay. Basically, they will reassess. आपण काय बघितलं स्टार्टिंगला की एक तर लक्षात ठेवा की ही कॉस्ट आहे बघा, ही कॉस्ट आहे, ठीक आहे, एव्हरी इयर एवढी कॉस्ट आहे. तो काय करणार, तो जो रेव्हेन्यू आहे फिक्स रेव्हेन्यू 10 लाखाचा, तो 10 लाखाचा तर फिक्स आहे एनिवेज, तर तो तुम्ही प्रपोर्शनेटली एव्हरी इयर रेकॉर्ड करायचा. रेकॉर्ड कसा करायचा, फर्स्ट इयर इट विल बी 10 lakhs फिक्स कंपोनेंट, 10 lakhs इंटू 50,000 अपॉन 9,50,000. त्या रेशिओ मध्ये जाणार, कॉस्ट टू कॉस्ट बेस म्हणतात त्याला. 10 lakh into 50,000 upon 9,50,000. तसं सेकंड इयर इट विल बी 10 lakh into 1,75,000 upon 9,50,000. If you add all this, it is 9,50,000. That is the total cost of the contract. ही जी कॉस्ट होती ना ओरिजिनली तीच आहे, 9,50,000 कॉस्ट होती आणि फिक्स्ड कॉन्ट्रॅक्ट होता 10 लाखाचा. त्या रेशिओ मध्ये आपण घेत जाऊ आणि स्टार्टिंगला कसं त्याने म्हटलंय की आपण 95% शुअर आहोत की आपला 10% इन्सेंटिव्ह आपल्याला मिळणारच आहे. व्हेरिएबल पार्ट 10% म्हणजे काय, 1 लाख अजून 10 लाखावर 10%, सो 1 लाख अजून मिळणार. तर ते पण आपण तसंच रेकॉर्ड करू. 1 lakh into 50,000 upon 9,50,000. 1 lakh into 1,75,000 upon 9,50,000. 1 lakh into 4 lakh upon 9,50,000. तसंच रेकॉर्ड करत जाऊ. बिकॉज वी आर शुअर की ते तर आपलं अचीव होणारच आहे. दॅट इज वी आर 100% शुअर. पण 4th इयरला ना देर इज अ रिव्हिजन ऑफ एस्टिमेट. आता 4th इयरच्या एंडला आपल्याला कळतंय की वी विल बी गेटिंग द मॅक्झिमम इन्सेंटिव्ह. म्हणजे आपण टाइम मध्ये देणार आहोत आणि क्वालिटीही मीट करणार आहोत आपण. त्याच्यामुळे म्हणजे वेट जे काय वेटचं क्रायटेरिया आहे त्याच्यावर आपल्याला बोनस मिळणार आहे. सो ते आपण मीट करणार आहोत. तर 4th इयरला आपल्याला कळतं की 2,50,000 आपल्याला इन्सेंटिव्ह मिळते. आतापर्यंत आपण फर्स्ट 3 इयर्सला काय केलेलं, 1 लाख मिळणार असं आपण पकडलं, 10% मिळणार असं कळलं. तर 4th इयर पासून आपल्याला कळतंय की 2,50,000 मिळणार आहे. मग अकॉर्डिंगली फिक्स तर सेमच राहणार. फिक्स काय राहणार, 10 lakhs into 2,75,000 upon 9,50,000 ते तसंच राहणार. व्हेरिएबल विल नाव चेंज. या 2 वर्षाला तुला व्हेरिएबल 2,50,000 प्रमाणे घ्यायला लागेल आणि पूर्ण कॉन्ट्रॅक्टला तुला ऍडजस्ट करायला लागेल ऍज इफ द व्हेरिएबल कंपोनंट इज 2,50,000 ओनली. पण आधी तू फक्त 1 lakh 1 lakh 1 lakh प्रमाणे घेतलंय 3 वर्ष. 4th इयर पासून 2,50,000 आपल्याला मिळणार आहे. कारण 4th इयरला एंडला आपल्याला रिअलाइज झालंय की आपण वी आर गोइंग टू कम्प्लिटली फुलफिल द वेट क्रायटेरिया आणि आपल्याला 2,50,000 मिळणार आहे. दॅट इज व्हॉट दे हॅव सेड इन द 4th para. That's last para. That is entity reassesses production status yearly, not quarterly. So 5 वर्षाचा कॉन्ट्रॅक्ट आहे. To determine whether it is on track to meet the criteria for the incentive award. तर हे प्रत्येक रिपोर्टिंग पिरियड नंतर they have to reassess. At the end of year 4, it becomes apparent. आतापर्यंत आपण 10% प्रमाणे इन्सेंटिव्ह रेकॉर्ड करतो व्हेरिएबल. At the end of year 4, it is apparent that this contract will fully achieve the weight based criteria. म्हणजे 2,50,000 चा इन्सेंटिव्ह फिक्स्ड आहे आपला. Therefore, the entity revises its estimate of variable consideration to include the entire 25% incentive, that is 2,50,000, in the year 4, because at this point it is probable, we know 100% that reversal won't be happening. If we record 25% revenue incentive, ते मिळणार आहे आपल्याला, नंतर रिवाइज करायची गरज नाही पडणार. इनिशियली फर्स्ट 3 years वी वर नॉट शुअर, बट वी वर शुअर की 10% नक्की मिळेल. ओके, तो आता हे कसं करायचं ते लक्षात. आता एकदम सिंपल आहे, फक्त वाटतं कॉम्प्लिकेटेड, ऍक्च्युली आहे खूप सिंपल. आता बघा, विल गो इयरली 1 by 1, 1 year at a time. 5 वर्षाचा कॉन्ट्रॅक्ट लक्षात ठेवा. आता बघा, फिक्स कन्सिडरेशन. व्हॉट इज द फिक्स कन्सिडरेशन, त्याला आपण ए म्हणूया, 10 lakh. ठीक आहे. एस्टिमेटेड कॉस्ट टू कम्प्लीट, त्याला आपण बी म्हणूया, 9,50,000. हे तर आपल्याला समची पहिली लाईनच आहे. मग आपण इयरली ते अलोकेट करायचं. रेव्हेन्यू कसा अलोकेट करायचा, फिक्स आणि व्हेरिएबल. इयर 1, इयर 2, इयर 3, इयर 4, इयर 5. टोटल एस्टिमेटेड व्हेरिएबल कन्सिडरेशन, त्याला आपण सी म्हणूया. पहिल्या 3 वर्षाला आपण अज्युम करतोय 1 लाख 1 लाख 1 लाख, हे आपण म्हणजे 1च लाख आहे. म्हणजे विल गेट ओव्हर द पिरियड ऑफ द कॉन्ट्रॅक्ट विल एस्टिमेटिंग 1 lakh मिळतील. पण 4th इयरला आपलं रिवाइज होतं आणि वी एक्सपेक्ट 2,50,000 मिळतील. सो फर्स्ट 3 yearsला वी आर एक्सपेक्टिंग 1 lakh विल गेट, अँड 4th आणि 5th इयरला विल एक्सपेक्ट की 2,50,000 मिळेल. आता रेव्हेन्यू कसा रेकग्नाइज करायचं ते बघा. फिक्स्ड रेव्हेन्यू म्हणजे पहिला आपण हा 10 लाख कसा रेकग्नाइज करूया, कॉस्ट टू कॉस्ट बेसिस. कॉस्ट कसं, तुम्ही कॉस्ट बघितलेलीच आहे मगाशी वर, ती आपण इथे लिहिली आहे. कॉस्ट एच 50, 175, 4 lakh, 2,75,000, 50, ही वरचीच कॉस्ट आहे. आता दिली नाही हीच कॉस्ट. सो इथे कॉस्ट लिहिली आहे एच. आता फिक्स्ड रेव्हेन्यू विल बी अलोकेटेड इन द रेशियो डी, त्याला डी म्हणूया. ए 10 लाख इंटू कॉस्ट फॉर द फर्स्ट इयर 50 अपॉन टोटल कॉस्ट 9,50,000. मी तुम्हाला बोललो तसं. तो कॅल्क्युलेटर असेल तर बघा, तुम्ही कॅल्क्युलेटर करून बघा की 10 lakhs इंटू 50,000 अपॉन 9,50,000 इट विल कम टू 52,630. तसंच सेकंड इयर विल बी 10 lakhs इंटू कॉस्ट त्या वर्षाची आहे 1,75,000 अपॉन 9,50,000 1,84,211. थर्ड इयर अगेन 10 lakhs into 4 lakhs upon 9,50,000. So 4,21,053. Fourth year 10 lakhs fixed consideration आपण allocate करतो into 2,75,000 upon 9,50,000. And last year 10 lakhs into 50,000 upon 9,50,000. Again it will be 50 to 60. First year मध्ये असतो. हे कळलं तुम्हाला how we allocated the fixed revenue?
Yes, sir.
Okay. आता व्हेरिएबल रेव्हेन्यू. व्हेरिएबल रेव्हेन्यू म्हणजे काय? लक्षात ठेवा, पहिल्या 3 वर्षाला आपण 1 लाख अज्युम केले, तो तसा अलोकेट करू. तो त्याला ई म्हणू. ई विल बी सी. सी म्हणजे या वर्षी वी आर अज्युमिंग की 1 लाख मिळेल. आपला एस्टिमेट 1 लाखचं आहे. सो 1 लाख इंटू अगेन 50,000 अपॉन 9,50,000 त्याच रेशिओ मध्ये 5263. सेकंड इयर 1 लाख इंटू 1,75,000 अपॉन 9,50,000. थर्ड इयर 1 लाख इंटू 4 लाख अपॉन 9,50,000. तर या वर्षापर्यंत आपण 1 लाख अज्युम करून अलोकेट करत आलो. तर पुढचं पण तसंच असतं. तर 1 लाख इंटू 2,75,000 अपॉन 9 लाख तसंच आपण अलोकेट केलं असतं. पण इथे एक ट्विस्ट आहे ना, की इथे चेंज होतंय. हे काय होतंय, आता फोर्थ इयर पासून 2,50,000 होतं. सो वी हॅव टू रिवाइज अँड वी हॅव टू ऍडजस्ट. आता काय करायचं बघा, 2,50,000 आता होत आहे, बरोबर. याच वर्षात थोडासा चेंज आहे. काय करायचं, ई 2,50,000 इंटू 2,75,000 अपॉन 9,50,000 किती येते बघा, जर कॅल्क्युलेटर असेल तर 2,50,000 इंटू 2,75,000 डिवायडेड बाय 9,50,000. इट कम्स टू 72,368. 72 जसं नॉर्मली करत होतं 2 लाख फक्त 72,368 येते. वी आर लोकेटिंग 2,50,000. ओके. पण हे तर या वर्षाचं झालं. आधीच्या वर्षाचं पण आपल्याला जरा हे करायला लागेल ना, ते 1 लाख प्रमाणे घेतलेलं ते ऍडजस्ट करायला लागेल. तर ते कसं करायचं ते बघूया. त्याला म्हणतात क्युम्युलेटिव्ह रेव्हेन्यू ऍडजस्टमेंट. ते कसं करायचं, त्याच्याने ही फिगर येते 99,370. कारण आपण आधीच्या वर्षात कमी घेतले, आपण 1 लाख प्रमाणे घेतले, बरोबर. त्यासाठी ऍडजस्टमेंट करतो आपण. अपडेटेड वेरिएबल कन्सिडरेशन त्याला एल म्हणूया, 2,50,000 फॉर द फोर्थ इयर. पर्सेंट कंप्लीट इन इयर 4. आतापर्यंत आपण कॉन्ट्रॅक्ट किती कंप्लीट झालाय हे कसं कळणार. आतापर्यंतची कॉस्ट घ्या, त्याला एन म्हटलं, आणि टोटल कॉस्ट किती लागणार आहे आपल्याला माहितीच आहे, 9,50,000. आतापर्यंतची कॉस्ट कशी पकडायची, ही ऍड करायची. आतापर्यंतची कॉस्ट एवढी आहे, तुम्ही ऍड केला तर कळतं की 9 लाख इज द कॉस्ट आतापर्यंत, कारण 50 उरली आहे फक्त. तर 9 लाख कॉस्ट आली आहे, बरोबर. आतापर्यंत फोर्थ इयर पर्यंत कॉस्ट किती आहे, 9 लाख. व्हॉट इज द कॉस्ट टू कम्प्लीट, टोटल कॉस्ट किती आहे, 9,50,000. पर्सेंटेज काढा, दॅट इज एम. 95% आतापर्यंत कॉन्ट्रॅक्ट कम्प्लीट. ओके. सो आणि आतापर्यंत तुम्ही व्हेरिएबल रेव्हेन्यू किती रेकग्नाइज केलाय, 1,38,130. म्हणजे हे ऍड केलं ना सगळं, तर इट बिकम्स 1,38,130. यू कॅन सी, ऍड करून बघा. 5263 प्लस 18,421 प्लस 42,105 प्लस 72,368. दॅट कम्स टू 130 काहीतरी. इथे 130 घेतलंय, ठीक आहे. माझं 157 येते, ठीक आहे, व्हॉट एव्हर, त्या जवळपास येते, काहीतरी चुकलं असेल माझं. 5263 प्लस 18,421 42 बरोबर, 105 प्लस 72,368. ठीक आहे. माझं 138 157 येते, व्हॉट एव्हर, त्याच्याने एवढं फरक पडत नाही. ओके. आता काय करायचं, जी काय अमाऊंट येते ती घ्यायची. ओके. पण नाही ऍडजस्ट होणार आहे, असं काय फरक पडत नाही. सो माझी 138 157 येते. इफ आय ऍड ऑल दिस, दॅट इज क्युम्युलेटिव्ह व्हेरिएबल रेव्हेन्यू थ्रू इयर 4. म्हणजे आतापर्यंतचं हे सगळं ऍड केलं तर तसं येते. ओके. आता काय करायचं, फॉर्म्युला वापरायचा, क्युम्युलेटिव्ह कॅचअप ऍडजस्टमेंट, एफ विल बी. सो हे 99,370 कसं येते, एल 2,50,000 दॅट इज टोटल व्हेरिएबल कन्सिडरेशन इंटू 95%. पण इतकं तर आपण रेकॉर्ड केलंच पाहिजे आतापर्यंत. ओके. सो 2,50,000 इंटू 95, तेवढी कॉस्ट आतापर्यंत इन्कर झालेली आहे. 2,37,500 येते. टोटल. सो दॅट मच शुड बी रेकग्नाइज टिल नाव. आता इतका कॉन्ट्रॅक्ट कम्प्लीट झालेला आहे. लेस व्हॉट एव्हर हॅज बीन रेकॉर्डेड टिल नाव, म्हणजे एवढंच रेकॉर्ड झालं. सो एवढं ऍडिशनल अजून बाकी आहे 99,370. सो हे रेकॉर्ड करा. सो जे काय तुमचं बॅलन्स फिगर येईल ते, इफ यू टेक 138,157, तर मग जो काय बॅलन्स इकडे ऍडजस्ट होईल तो. ओके. कारण काय लक्षात ठेवा, कॉन्ट्रॅक्ट 95% कम्प्लीट झाला. तो व्हेरिएबल कन्सिडरेशन पण तुम्ही 95% रेकॉर्ड झालंच पाहिजे होतं, कारण आपण प्रपोर्शनल कम्प्लिशन मेथड वापरतो. पण आतापर्यंत किती झालंय? एवढंच झालंय. ओके. ऍक्च्युली एवढं सगळं करायची पण गरज नाही. तुम्ही कॅल्क्युलेटर पण करू शकता. हे आता वर्किंग दाखवलंय म्हणून, पण वन्स यू बिकम अ प्रो, मग तुम्हाला कॅल्क्युलेटर पण डायरेक्ट करता येईल की आतापर्यंत एवढी कॉस्ट रेव्हेन्यू झालंय, एवढं झालं पाहिजे होतं, 250 इंटू 95% झालं पाहिजे होतं, पण आता एवढं झालंय. सो ऍडिशनल ऍडजस्ट करून टाका. पण 4th इयर मध्ये वी आर रिवायझिंग द एस्टिमेट, सो तेव्हा करून टाका. त्याच्याने 99,370 येतं. हे सगळ्यांना कळलं कसं आलं 99,370? हॅज एव्हरीवन अंडरस्टूड दिस? सगळ्यांना कळलंय कसं आलं का नाही कळलंय अजून? ओके. ओके, गुड. ते झालं. सो 4th इयर झालेलं आहे. 4th इयर झालं. आणि 5th इयरला परत तसंच करायचंय. 2,50,000 इंटू 50,000 अपॉन 9,50,000. तर 13,158 येतं. बॅलन्स फिगर नाही घ्यायचे, असं कॅल्क्युलेशनच काढायचं. सो हे सगळं ऍड केलं तुम्ही, फिक्स्ड आणि व्हेरिएबल ऍड केलं, तर तुम्हाला टोटल रेव्हेन्यू मिळतो. त्याला जी म्हटलं. दॅट इज डी प्लस ई प्लस एफ. एफ फक्त 4th इयर मध्ये. सो हे ऍड करायचं. कॉस्ट इकडे आहेच पर इयर. तुम्हाला प्रॉफिट मिळतो. दॅट इज टोटल रेव्हेन्यू मायनस द कॉस्ट फॉर दॅट इयर. प्रॉफिट. यू कॅन फाइंड द मार्जिन. सो एवढा रेव्हेन्यू तुम्ही रेकग्नाइज करत. आपल्याला कन्सिडरिंग मार्जिन नाहीये, आपल्याला फक्त एवढंच बघायचं. दिस इज द रेव्हेन्यू वी आर गोना रेकग्नाइज एव्हरी इयर. जसं वर्ष कम्प्लीट होतं, वी रेकग्नाइज दिस मच रेव्हेन्यू. गॉट इट? सगळ्यांना कळलंय?
येस सर.
ओके. मी जस्ट मार्किंग करतो आतापर्यंत आपण काय केलं. आय होप यू हॅव अंडरस्टूड एव्हरीथिंग.